comedy. Paul says that, according to his chronicling of events, that there would come a falling away from Christianity, and a man of sin would be revealed. And one of the things, as we were just reading that, we found to really be quite comical is verse 4 of chapter 2, where it says, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." For someone to sit in the temple of God would ascribe that there was a temple of God. And for there to be a temple of God, for this man to sit in the temple of God, there would have to be the construction of the temple of God. But then, as we said, if you remember from last week, I'm going to go there again real briefly, and that's from Zechariah chapter 6, that you can see that Paul is actually calling Yahweh's Christ Antichrist. Now, what it says, again, we're going to reiterate from verse 12 through 15 of Zechariah 6. "And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh Yahweh Zabo, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of Yahweh. Even he shall build the temple of Yahweh, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and he shall be a priest upon his throne. And the council of peace shall be between them both, and the crown shall be to Helem, and to Tobijah, and to Jediah, and to Hen, the son of Zephaniah, for a memorial in the temple of Yahweh. And they that are far off shall come and build in the temple of Yahweh. And ye shall know that Yahweh Zabo hath sent me unto you, and this shall come to pass if ye will diligently obey the voice of Yahweh your God." As we said, Paul said that this man of sin is going to sit in the temple of God. But Zechariah says that who Paul would call the man of sin is going to actually build the temple of God, or orchestrate the building of the temple of God. If the man of sin is, as Paul says, is the builder of the temple of God, who sits in the temple of God, bearing the glory of that temple that was built, as was stated in this text in Zechariah. Because it says right here, even he shall build the temple of Yahweh, and he shall bear the glory. If he's going to bear the glory of the temple that he builds, and it's going to be the temple of Yahweh, then that would seem to me that that would be the same man that Yahweh calls the branch, or the branch of righteousness, or Yahweh Sidkenu, that would orchestrate the building of the temple, who is then the man that Paul calls the man of sin. Who Jesus would destroy with the brightness of his coming. But then it becomes fascinating, because we have the original Testament saying that from Daniel that it's going to be Messiah that comes, and then following Messiah, or Christ that comes, following Messiah or Christ, 1 week later or right after is going to be Antichrist. And Paul says, no, it's going to be Antichrist, and he's going to be the builder of the temple, and he who sits in the temple, bearing the glory of the temple, and then following, according to Paul, Antichrist is going to be Jesus Christ. So what you'll find, the reason I find 2 Thessalonians fascinating, because in putting 2 Thessalonians on top of Zechariah chapter 6 and Daniel chapter 9, what we find is that Paul is actually opposing God and speaking the opposite of that which God speaks. It would be an injustice not to, even though I wanted to focus on something else, but I have to go there real quick, as the Spirit of Yahweh leads me, that we do not fail to make mention of where we're getting this from in Daniel, because we read Zechariah, but we didn't read what we were getting from Daniel. So we're going to go to Daniel real briefly. I'm going to chronicle some time. I'm going to start from, we'll say, let's start from verse 20. That's what they oftentimes have in Bibles, is what they call a pericope. And a pericope is just a symbol that it has. It's almost like an allusion to a paragraph. But what that pericope that has capacity to do is show you when there's oftentimes a transition. So what it says is the meaning of 70 weeks. And we're going to read it from 20 to 28. That's going to be its conclusion. And it reads as follows. I believe it goes all the way to 28, just to double check. It goes to 27. So it's from 20 to 27 then. But it reads as follows. And whiles I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahweh my God, for the holy mountain of my God, yea, whiles I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplication the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the Prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abomination he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Understanding and comprehension is paramount when one is reading the Word of God. Not only that, there has to be prayer, there should be fasting, there should be meditation, there should be a relationship, there should be a calling. Because without all of these, it's easy to come to disparate and distorted interpretations. Now, I know with common sense, we just read that Messiah's coming, and right after Messiah, if we have 70 weeks, we have 69 weeks, and then it says the 70th week, that means immediately following. Just like if you're watching a television program and it says immediately following, it doesn't mean something that's going to happen 2,000 years later. But it would say immediately following. You can't, see, I've listened to some of the Christian misinterpretations of this text, and it's almost comical. I have laughter in my voice if you hear me speaking oftentimes, because I'll have laughter because some of their interpretations are so bad that they're comical. They would make anyone laugh. It's like it's a joke. Only that it's a very grave matter, but we are undone by them saying, well, the 69 weeks, and then the 70th week, which was the last week, was going to last 2,000 years. The 69 weeks were going to represent 69 sevens, or then you say 69, so you have 7 times 7, so you'd have 483 years, because 7 times 70 is going to be 490, so they say the 69 sevens gives you the 483 years, and they say 483 years from this time until the coming of Jesus, and then the 70th week, though, just happened to last over 2,000 years. Give me a break. Don't tell me you have 483 years for the 69 weeks, but the 1 week was going to represent a 2,000 plus years. because at some point, common sense and logic and reason has to enter. And so, let's be real. As a friend of mine would say, let's keep it 100. And keeping it 100 is just keeping it real, keeping it truthful. You can't have 483 years represented by 69 weeks and then have the 70th week represent 2,000 years, because that goes beyond the parameters in the realm of common sense. And that's not keeping it 100 when you have such things as that. No, what this text is saying, and this text further again proves that Jesus is not Christ. Because it says that this building and all of these things were going to take place commensurate unto the manifestation of Christ. And then you would then have the manifestation of Christ, and in the 70th week you would have the manifestation of Antichrist, or he who would be responsible